So it's a little bit different. But for the most part, it's mornings, you finish in the afternoons.
So there are people online, which is what we're trying to figure out right now with the sound. So we don't want to put any more information than we already did. So did we already do like introductions? Maybe we could do that from the crowd. What brought you guys interested? Why are we interested? We'll start with the ladies,
sounds
of
good.
course.
Wait, Sheikh said sounds good.
Oh, is it good?
Yeah, just kidding.
Oh.
Sheikh walked by.
Did you say something?
He gave a thumbs up.
Let me check.
Yeah, please check that again. Thank you. I think it's just passed up. Thank you, Fatima. Okay.
That'd be weird.
Speed it up. That's okay. Yeah, that's fine. I think we should be okay. Sheikh gave a thumbs up, but I feel better if we have confirmation, inshallah.
Should I like go? I can introduce myself.
Oh no, you're okay.
Yeah,
but if you want
cool.
to, go ahead.
No, I'm good. I just thought maybe you guys wanted that. I'm good.
We appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, I answered your question, right? That was okay. Timings, yes, I did that. Yeah, and then if you're unable to join live for whatever reason, the classes are recorded, so you can always go back, rewatch anything that you need to rewatch.
Okay, you're good.
Okay, alhamdulillah. Okay, bismillah walhamdulillah wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah. Okay, so we left off on our faculty, alhamdulillah. They studied from all over, and they're currently imams in their own specific regions, and they are truly a wealth of knowledge. We are very, very, very blessed to have them. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect and preserve all of them. Okay, who's seminary for? It has to be the best of the best, right? No, it's not. That's not at all what seminary is all about. All of you are here because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chose you to be here. And for those online, you're here because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chose for you to be listening in this particular moment. That's who seminary is for. That's it. The short, small, simple, easy of it. It's for people who are truly sincere about their religion, who are sincere about their relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who want to know more about Him, who want to grow closer to Him, and they recognize that the way to do that is to truly learn about Him and to know Him more. It's for those people who are motivated because of that goal. Rain or shine, we have no snow or sleet here in Southern California. I don't know, wind or no wind, right? They're going to show up. They're going to put their best foot forward. They're going to do their absolute best to do whatever they need to do in order to achieve that goal. And those individuals who are dedicated, right? Both men and women. We need that here in Southern California. We need both. And alhamdulillah, as I mentioned before, you don't have to travel abroad in order to get this knowledge. It's here. You don't need to sacrifice your entire lives. You don't need to uproot, if you're married, your entire families just for you to go overseas into some country that none of you have ever stepped foot in ever before. And you have to learn so many different things in order to learn Islam. Alhamdulillah, you have the option here. And if you can't make it in person, from the comfort of your own home. So now we get into the fun stuff. Now, if you are unable to do the full-time program, we have part-time seminary on Saturdays. That is for 4 hours, and we have live classes, which are like currently happening, and we have pre-recorded classes. So you can kind of pick and choose if you're kind of unsure about seminary, the full-time program, you're not too sure what it's all about, if you can commit, I would recommend starting with part-time. That's the best way to kind of get your feet wet. See whether this is something that you're interested in. It's a great foot in the door type of method. You can browse all of the classes that we currently have pre-recorded, see which ones are most interesting to you, and just bismillah, just go for it. Now the full-time program is the fun stuff. You guys want to jump in?
I think you're doing good. Go ahead.
Okay, so our 1 year is just the diploma in Arabic and Islamic studies. And I know this looks like a lot. Sometimes it feels like a lot, but it's not. It has a really nice flow to it in the beginning, like as we were mentioning. You start with Arabic 101, and your first year in Arabic is like the year. If you have your Arabic set in this year, the entire program is just gonna be open to you. Yeah. Like the doors are just gonna be wide open. One of our goals is that by third year, you're able to just go up to our library. If you guys have ever been there, it's just filled with incredible books. Pick up any book from the shelf, open it, and you'll be able to read it, no problem. So if you're able to dedicate yourself truly within this first year, inshallah, that's a very attainable goal that you can get to.
And I'm sorry, it's very rigorous upon getting your Arabic down if you're shaky on it. So it's not just you putting in all the effort, the teachers are also filling you up with that. And it's honestly really fun, especially when you have classmates and you're learning and you're falling behind together, because it happens. It happens. It's really, really enjoyable. But don't be nervous by the amount of classes on here. It really flows. It flows easy. It flows easy.
Yeah, it really does, alhamdulillah. And each one kind of builds upon the other.
Yeah.
Just like to share a quick background about myself. I grew up in the masjid. Like I really did. Every Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays after school, my mom would take me there and we would spend anywhere from like 2 to 4 hours depending on the day, right? So I really thought that I knew Islam. That was me from like 4th grade until junior high. Just always at the masjid. And I really truly thought I knew a thing or two about Islam, right? I started this program and within like the first week, I was like, Mama, what did you teach me about Islam? In the best way possible, right? Because we get a lot of things from our culture, which is great and beautiful and wonderful, but some of the things get less lost in the sauce, right? There's some confusion. So if anything, right, don't worry about the 5 years of seminary. Just focus on this 1 year. Because I'm telling you, if you go in with just this 1 year, giving it everything that you have, you're going to come out a different and a better Muslim, inshallah.
Yeah.
Like your entire frame of mind when it comes to Islam will be set right. Whatever foundation that you have right now, we're going to break it down. That's just how it goes in this program, alhamdulillah. And you're going to get a much more stronger, firmer foundation set in its place.
Yeah.
Whatever comes your way, believe me when I say you will be able to handle it if you put in that effort. That's it. Whatever your best effort looks like, put it into that first year. And inshallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will grant you tawfiq and place barakah in them.
And the year it's a long year. Like a year in general is very long. So there's going to be points where, you go in strong, head first, you're swimming, and then you just feel like, okay, now I'm on like this plateau. I feel like we all get there. Don't be discouraged if you lose that like sense of, oh yeah, I'm going in with my best effort, because you can always pick that up. That's not something that's like continuous forever. That's something that you have to wake up every day and be like, okay, I'm just going to do this extra 30 minutes of studying. I'm going to do this extra 30 minutes of reviewing. And I feel like that's the most important thing, knowing that learning is not stagnant. It's going to be up. It's going to be down. Especially in this first year, there were times where I felt like, oh my God, I'm just never going to. And now here I am, inshallah, 3rd year. Soon, and I wish I could go back to year 1. Honestly, I loved it. And it really like solidified everything that I know now. So don't be discouraged. Don't let the pressure or your self-doubt get to you. Definitely, what she's saying about going in with whatever your best effort looks like. So make sure you know that.
Inshallah khair. But Arabic is very big in the first year, and on top of that we also study fiqh. And then we have Hadith 101, Quran 101, which is really important. It's just the basics of what exactly is Hadith. How do we know whether or not a Hadith is strong or weak, right? What is a sanad? What is a change of narrators? Why is that so important for us to know? So you learn all of that, alhamdulillah, as well as Quran, right? What's so important about the Quran? Why is this such a big deal? How do we know that this is actually the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? How do we know that it's not been changed in any way whatsoever, just like the other forms of text that are out there? You learn all of that within this first year. So when I say your foundations are built, set, and good, they really, really are, alhamdulillah. And then on top of that, you have 2 extra courses. I believe that's what we would call them. I don't know what else to classify them as. Extracurricular, yes, thank you. They would be theology, kalam, right? That's fun for some people, not so fun for other people. But inshallah, it'll be good. And then seerah as well, of the Prophet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So that's your first year. Goes by quick, like I said. If you put your best foot forward, then inshallah, may Allah grant you tawfiq. Okay, year 2. Year 2 builds upon year 1. After 2 years with the program, you receive your associate's degree in Arabic and Islamic studies. And again, I know this looks like a lot, but it's not. Okay, really, it just builds upon year 1. So now you start practicing your Arabic skills a little bit more, right? Your teachers might ask you, go home, take this text, put all the tashkeel on it, come back, read it to me the next day. And then that's when you go over correcting it, you figure out what's wrong, what's right. You start kind of translating yourself, right, on your own as well. So this is where you kind of fine tune your Arabic skills a little bit. And then you continue with fiqh. So whatever you left off on in year 1, you pick up on it with year 2. And then you continue with your hadith and your Quran. With Quran, you start diving into tafsir a little bit. So for our year 1, we had tafsir from like this IOK booklet. You finish that. I think we have like 4 volumes.
Yeah.
4
Or
volumes.
3
or 4. It's something like that. Yeah. It's 4 volumes.
It's
I think
4
4,
or 3.
something like that.
It's 3 or 4, y'all.
It's just Amma. It's just Amma, and then a couple excerpts of like excerpts.
Excerpts,
I don't know how
yeah.
to say the word.
From
From
other.
like longer, bigger surahs.
Yes. So you'll cover hopefully at least the first 2 or 3 within your first year. You'll finish off that 4th volume in your 2nd year, and then you'll start getting tafsir from Ibn Kathir, from Al-Qurtubi, just like a little bit here and there to supplement whatever tafsir you're currently going over in class. And then it's not listed here, but we also cover a text called Qasas al-Nabiyyin, Stories of the Prophets, and that really helps with your Arabic. The book is built in such a manner where in the beginning it's very simple sentences, and then when you go further into the book they get longer. It goes from like sentences to paragraphs, and it's a really good way again to practice your Arabic, to get your tongue used to pronouncing Arabic.
And it's also really fun.
Yeah.
I love Qasas an-Nabiyyin just because we started it in year 1 and then we finished it in year 2. So it's kind of like this, and it's stories. So stories of the prophets, and then it tells like details, and then they incorporate the Quran and their verses, and it's really enjoyable. I love it.
Yeah, it's a great starter to like really learn about the prophets, right? Because we hear like so many different things about them. You hear one thing, you hear another thing, and it's like, okay, which one is it? Qasas an-Nabiyyin is a really good way to, again, set that foundation right for you. You continue with fiqh. You continue with your seerah if you haven't finished your seerah yet. Hadith and Quran. Do you guys want to say anything about Hadith and Quran year 2?
So for fiqh in year 2, you actually get a whole Arabic book. It's a book completely in Arabic.
That's right.
It's called Quduri, and you basically, there's no tashkil, there's no translation, and you basically relearn the fiqh you learned in year 1, but you learn it in Arabic now. And it solidifies your fiqh. You learn a lot more about like the intricate details of like, why is this ruling this way? Which faqih is from the Hanafi madhab decided on that ruling, and different things like that. So in fiqh, like it's a review, but then it's a lot more intense at the same time, so that's really fun. And then in year 2, your hadith is from Riyadh al-Salihin. In year 1, you have Zad al-Talibin, which is a book that has hadith in English and Arabic together. But in year 2, you completely switch to Riyadh al-Salihin, which is all in Arabic again.
But this one has tashkil.
This one has it, so it's just a little bit, it's easier than fiqh, a little bit. And then your teacher, you go through a sharh of the hadith book, and Riyadh al-Salihin is by Imam al-Nawawi. And you also do another book by Imam al-Nawawi, which is the Arba'in al-Nawawi, which is the 40 hadith of Imam al-Nawawi. We're a big fan of it.
If you can't tell.
And that, Sheikh Farhan describes that book beautifully as like, it's just like a Muslim starter pack, I guess, of hadith. Like those 40 hadith, like every Muslim should know. So you do that in Riyadh al-Salihin, and then Quran, tafsir.
Yeah.
For tafsir, we start doing Safat al-Tafasir, which is a Safat al-Tafasir means like the most beautiful, the most perfect, or like concise of tafasir, which is basically like a tafsir book. It's again no tashkil, no vowels, no translation, and you just go in and you kind of learn about the reason why this surah was descended, and it teaches you basically like what does this ayah mean and things like that. So that's what you start doing in year 2.
So again, year 2 is really just where you build upon those Arabic skills that you learned in year 1. Year 2 is still kind of that healthy balance between Arabic with like tashkil, right, kind of like getting more into the pool, versus no tashkil, right, when it comes to our fiqh book. But again, don't let that scare you. Okay, like I said, you have a lot of help. You have your other students. The teachers here are also available for office hours. If you're struggling with anything, just make an appointment with them. Tell them, I need help with this thing. Please help me, and they'll show up and they'll be there for you, inshallah.
And I completed year 2 this past year, and I can like attest to the fact that it's a good mix of what we know, so the old and new. So it's not like you're jumping into something you have no idea about. It's, you know, Qasas and Nabiyin is like one of those that it's continuous. And then with I would say with fiqh, it's like Quduri, we're doing that without tashkid and without like translation, but it's things that we already learned in English in year 1. So it's not like, oh, I don't know this. It's just, oh, this is that in Arabic. That's cool. So it's not, don't be nervous about that at all.
Okay. Do you guys have any questions, concerns, comments? I know we threw a lot at you. Yeah, bismillah.
Are you all like native Arabic speakers? Or
No.
Oh, okay, cool. That makes me
No.
feel so much better. That was like my main thing. I feel like you already did it.
No,
So
no.
I'm not, Fatima is not either. Our lovely Javadi is the only one who is.
Yeah.
Mashallah. Yeah, you have a healthy mix of that within the seminary program as well too. Obviously, if you're a native speaker, it's going to come a lot more easier too.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's not going to be so easy, right? Because some people, they have all this unconsciously in the back of their mind, but then they're like, grammar? What do you mean grammar? I mean, like, right? So that's why your classmates are also a really, really amazing source of
your
reliance.
classmates really make the classroom. I believe it. And even with the shaykh always like to say this, especially when like they're teasing like the Arab in the classroom. The native speaker actually does not have an advantage because this is like true like Fusha Arabic. It's like the Quranic Arabic. And native speakers, I don't know what they'd be saying, okay? Like it's nothing like the Quran. It's nothing like how the scholars of the past knew Arabic. So it's completely different, and everyone can do it. Everyone can do it. Year 1 and year 2, everyone can do it, and everyone should do it. Yeah.
What's tashkil?
They're the vowel signs.
The vowel signs.
Yeah. So your fatha, kasra, dhamma, it tells you how to pronounce the letter. That's tashkil. Yeah.
And I think just more on her point, you definitely can do it, even if you're not a native speaker, because I learned how to read Arabic and the year before, I think I started seminary.
Yeah.
So I didn't know how to read, I didn't know how to write it, but now it's kind of like second nature for me because of the seminary program. So I don't want to hear none of that, oh, I don't know it, I don't speak it at home. I didn't either. I still, you know what I mean? So that's not an excuse. I don't want to hear it, y'all. I don't want to hear it.
No, mashallah. It just takes sincere effort, right? Don't worry about the 5 years, because that can be really, really overwhelming to a lot of us when we think about that. You're not committing to 5 years when you're here in seminary. You're committing to becoming a better version of you. That's it. Beginning and end. So just do the first year. That's what I always recommend to people. Just do the first year. See how you come out of it. And if you like to continue with the program, alhamdulillah, bismillah, continue with the program. If you don't, that first year is really all you need.
Right.
Go back, constantly review the things that you did in first year. And you've built a relationship now with people around you, right? Your fellow seminary classmates, as well as the shuyukh. If anything comes up in your life, you have people, like actual scholars, that you can turn to, right? That's a priceless gift.
Yeah.
So take advantage of that, if nothing else.
And I think on the point where she says if you just want to do year 1, I also, when I first started seminary, I was like, I'm just going to do year 1. It's not really my thing. And I kind of got addicted. Like, learning new things and understanding this is why I pray and this is how I pray and this is the difference between just simple things like that. Even if you just do year 1, you're walking away with so much beneficial knowledge that trust me.
Yeah.
Don't do year 1 thinking you're just only doing year 1. You're stuck forever.
You're stuck. That's it. Bismillah. IOK owns you.
Yeah.
Okay, but that's year 1. That's year 2. Are you guys okay with that? Yes.
So the CRD class, so is that the theology class?
Yes.
Yeah,
That's
already done.
continuing. Yeah, that's continuing. Okay. Year 3? Yeah? Alright, bismillah. Year 3. So year 3 is our bachelor's. And again, I know this looks like a lot, but again, it's just building upon what you previously learned. If there's one thing that the program does really, really well, it's building upon the skills that you had the previous year.
Yeah.
So whereas year 1 was all English, right? You're learning Arabic. Year 2 was that balance of English and Arabic. Year 3, full speed ahead, all Arabic. Okay, so all of your texts are in Arabic this year. You have Tafsir Jalalain, which is a very short, comprehensive tafsir book. It's all in Arabic. You're continuing with Quduri, which was all in Arabic, right? No tashkil. You are continuing a new book in Hadith, which is Mishkat al-Masabi. Too many books, alhamdulillah. And you cover that with 2 different instructors because you have volume 1 and you have volume 2.
They're right next to you if you want to show.
And again, that's also all in Arabic. Yeah, if anyone wants to take a look at the books, this is the year 3 classroom that you're in right now. So they're over here to the side. MashaAllah, all the women. Yeah, let me see. So again, you're just building upon those things. And then this was also the year where if you are interested in chaplaincy, talk to Sheikh Farhan, right? They'll be able to come up with some few extracurricular classes for you in order to help you go down that pathway. But you do need to get your bachelor's first. That's really the only requirement that you have. And now you learn Arabic again, but this time you learn it in Arabic. So it's just all Arabic. It's just full steam ahead this year. Do you have anything to add for year 3?
Yeah, fiqh is just continuing Quduri.
Yeah.
And I'm learning the Arabic in Arabic is kind of like how we did fiqh. Like you learn fiqh in English, and then you learn it in Arabic, and then you learn Arabic in English, and then you're relearning it in Arabic. And it's kind of fun because like the beginning is like kind of sounds like what you would imagine like in an like Arab country, like how they're teaching kids grammar. It's like an ism is this, and it's all in Arabic, and it's really cool. And we also finally get to do usul al-fiqh. So in year 3 is the first time where you really get to understand, okay, like how do the scholars come up with the rulings? And especially it's according to the Hanafi madhab as well. So you get to learn, wait, so why is this wajib? But this one's fun. But this one's sunnah mu'akkada. And this one, and I know all these terms might be confusing to like people who've never heard them before. But it's really fun. It's really fun.
Yeah. Alhamdulillah. So that's year 3. Like I said, every year is just a natural progression, just a natural build upon the other. And then after this year, you get your bachelor's, inshallah. Year 4, and this is all the, excuse me. Yeah.
What was like humanities, social sciences, JRP?
So that is for the, so jurisprudence, that's the GRP 104.
That's fiqh.
That's fiqh,
Yeah.
right? Fiqh, we call that.
Yes.
And then the humanities and social sciences, that's like your extracurriculars if you would like to take it.
Okay.
We also do, was Islamic history in year 2?
Yeah.
Yeah.
History.
Islamic history was in year 2, and then this year for year 3 we also had Slira. So those extracurriculars might kind of like jump around a bit. It really depends on your year, right? If the shuyukh notice that you need, like your year as a collective needs more attention for this particular subject, then that's what they'll do, and they'll kind of put off those extracurriculars. Yes,
And
uncle.
as the 39 lower division, like the GEs, we don't have to like, if you already have like a bachelor's, you don't have to like do it again, right?
No.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it.
So this year, the topic is only for the year 1, and there's no continuation of that.
So you can do it in whatever year. For us, we did it this year in year 3. We did Sheikh Al-Qurti's pre-recorded class. I know that year 2 this year, they finished a text early, so they started a Sirah book. So it's something that your teachers kind of like
Gauge.
gauge.
They gauge that.
Yeah. If that's something that you do want, though, you're more than welcome to express that to the shuyukh, and they'll give you some
And they'll give
sources.
you some for that.
Yes.
So only the Arabic class is taught in Arabic. What about the other classes? Are they also taught in Arabic during your 3rd year?
Oh, okay, good. So all of the classes are taught in English, but the texts themselves are in Arabic. Okay, so you're not gonna sit there with the sheikh just like sprouting out Arabic at you, and you're like,
That's a good we should mention that.
Sorry.
Maybe we should have that. And what's your name? Can I have your name?
Is that?
But we'll say it was
No.
his idea.
don't give him any
And we're
ideas.
gonna tell them she wants it all in Arabic in year 3.
Don't give him any ideas.
Her specifically, just her.
Just her sheikh, no one else.
I have one more question.
Yes.
Is the time commitment the same for all the years? Like
Yeah.
the same 4 or 5 hours?
Yes. Yeah. Same all the years.
Even though like there's more units each year.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's more. I'm sorry. It's more, but it's still. I don't want to say the same.
It doesn't feel like it's more because your skills grow,
Exactly.
right? You're able to take on a whole lot more.
They just listed it all out, but I'm sure we can like clump together some of these up here.
Yeah.
They just had to spell it all out, but for the most part, it's everything you'll kind of know.
Yeah.
It's just a little bit extra.
Yeah, there's like a constant balance between new things and revision in
Yeah.
the program, right? For example, fiqh is a really good example of that, right? You cover that fiqh book in English your first year, and then in your second year and your third year, you go over it again, but this time you go over it in Arabic, right? You're not learning anything new per se. It's just a nice little review. This time with the added caveat of it being in another language. So again, it's really just like a natural build. If you do an okay job of managing your time wisely and again putting your best foot forward, right, that effort, then you'll find that the program will be like a gentle descend instead of feeling like you're dying climbing up a mountain. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
Guys, what was the timings of the classes one time?
So on Mondays and Wednesdays, it's from 7:30 a.m. until 11:30 p.m. And then on Tuesdays and Thursdays, it's from 7:30 a.m. until 12:30 p.m. An extra hour. Okay. You guys good with year 3? Okay. Bismillah, year 4. Excuse me, before I get to year 4. So, like I said, if you're interested in chaplaincy, right? For those of you who don't know, chaplaincy is essentially I don't want to say spiritual counseling, religious counseling, we'll go with that, right? So we have Christian chaplains, we have Jewish chaplains, and alhamdulillah, we have Muslim chaplains. They work in hospitals, schools, or what's the third one? Prisons. Or prisons, thank you, yes. Hospitals, schools, or prisons. And if you're interested in that, then we have a track for that here at Seminary. If you want more information, that is a Sheikh Farhan question. Please feel free to ask him, inshallah. Okay, now for year 4, you just kind of build upon, again, the things that you learned previously until you get to year 5, which is your master's degree, right? So you start this in year 4, you finish it in year 5. And again, it's Arabic, it's Islamic law. So in year 3, where you start to learn like the science of it, where it all started, now you get to start practicing it yourself, right? So you have a book. Do you guys know what the book does exactly? I don't want to say anything.
Which one?
The fiqh book that they have.
The comparative one?
I think so. Usul al-Shashi?
Usul al-Fiqh.
Yeah.
Yeah, Usul al-Shashi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the one where do you have more information on it?
It's just like a comparative type of book.
Are you able to look at cases?
Not sure.
I forgot what it was exactly.
You
I don't
have
want to
to
give you
ask
guys
Sheikh
false
Farhan.
information.
Sorry.
You have to ask Sheikh Farhan.
We're not in year
But I
5
do
yet,
know.
don't
But I do know whereas in year 3, right, you start learning the background information behind the fiqh, you start kind of applying that a little bit more, right? One of our sheikh was really good at this. He would give us situations and he would say, okay, what would you do, right? This case came up to you, what would you do? And you're like, Sheikh, I'm not qualified for this. But that's where you start really building those skills, alhamdulillah.
And
So-
I'm sorry, it's actually funny that she mentions that because in year 2, we like a lot of my teachers will ask us about our day-to-day lives, and with that, they do ask us like questions like, oh, what would you do in this situation? I remember in one of my classes, my teacher asked me a question, and he's like, what would you do in the situation if someone came up to you and they said this and this? And I was like, Sheikh, I would tell them that I respect their opinion. He was like, respect their opinion? I'm like, okay, what should I say? So I will never forget it. I know what to say now. If someone ever comes up to me with that situation. So it's kind of like that with all of our classes, all the years. It's nice.
Alhamdulillah, yeah. Because again, we live here in the West, in Southern California. There are so many different types of people around us, right?
Yeah.
And now some of these issues are getting more and more difficult to navigate.
Mm.
We're not too sure how to answer certain things. We're not too sure how to act around certain people anymore. The sheikh will call you out on it in the best way possible, right? They'll ask you because they are interested in us, right? They care about you, you're their students. And they'll ask what happened on this day. Or you may bring it up in class, right? Like, Sheikh, this incident happened, and this is what happened, and this is what I did, and this is what I said. Did I do the right thing? What should I have done differently?
And sometimes it really it's really hard to hear that you did the wrong thing, because you're like, well, I'm never gonna see that person again. But it's a learning experience, and it's better that you know that you were wrong than to not know that you were wrong.
Yeah, and that's one of those things that you can't learn from a book, right? No matter what program you go to, you won't be able to get that the same way that you get it here in seminary, alhamdulillah. Again, it's just one of those priceless things that the program offers. If for nothing else, do it for that, right? For those communication, for those moments of communication. Okay, fiqh, that's where we got all that from. Again, you're just building upon it, right? Your Arabic gets just a little bit more harder, a little bit more difficult to test your skills, to fine-tune them. You continue with fiqh, you continue with Islamic law, but this time with a caveat where you start really thinking from the point of view of a juror, right? If I was the one trying to figure this out, what would I label this thing? And then you also continue with hadith, another book. Do you continue with No. Bukhari, right? Yeah, this is when you start Bukhari.
I think
Tirmidhi first.
And then,
And
no,
then-
I think it's at the same time.
Yeah, I think so.
You do multiple hadith books
You
in your foreign
We're
class.
learning right with you guys.
Yeah,
So.
you start studying multiple hadith books
Yes.
in this year.
Yeah. Yeah. I wish we had more information for you, but you're 3. That's our cap right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
Do you guys have any questions, concerns, comments? Yes.
So for the masters, can anyone do it even if they don't want to do like chaplaincy, let's say? Like,
Yes, you can. Yeah. So chaplaincy is just like an extra added thing. If you don't want to become a chaplain, that's totally okay, right? You can just do the full 5 years of the program, get your master's at the end, go out and serve your community, right? That's the main goal, inshallah.
So at a very high level, what's in Arabic 401 and 402? Maybe you mentioned, but I probably missed it.
No, we didn't mention. I was trying to not mention.
Well, very high level. Is Balagha, is we already taught in the previous years, or?
So balagha is something that comes from the shuyukh, right? If they feel like your class is strong enough, then they might intersperse it here and there. I know in our year 2, it was mentioned in the tafsir that we were studying.
Yeah.
And if a certain balagha point was not too wild, right, and wouldn't make us confused, then our sheikh would bring it up. So it really depends on you. If you feel like your grammar is set, your morphology is set, and that's something that you are really interested in, rhetoric, right, understanding the language of the Quran a little bit more, then you are more than welcome to ask the sheikh for some balagha stuff. So it's there, but you just have to work for it.
So there is no specific course or year for that?
No, not yet. If your class is strong enough, then yes, in your 4th and 5th year, this is when it'll slowly start being introduced. But depends. Okay. That's it. Okay, so if you have any questions, concerns, comments, you can contact Sheikh Farhan or our front desk using these 2 emails, info@instituteofknowledge.com and fzubairi@instituteofknowledge.com. Anything that we were not able to answer, please forgive us for our shortcomings. Inshallah, like I said, us 3 cannot make up for Sheikh Farhan's 1. He will be able to give you much more comprehensive answers, inshallah.
100%.
And I think that does it. Alhamdulillah, that's the end. So any other questions, concerns, comments? If you guys are uncomfortable asking with everyone, then we said that we would stick around as well.
So you mentioned that you guys are managing between a full-time job and school and seminary. Could you give us a little bit how your days kind of sort of and how do you manage it? And how much effort required on a daily basis to go through the year 1?
Yeah, that's a good question. Okay, I think we're a good example of that. 'Cause
Yeah.
we have a good skill level set here. So for those of you who don't know, I am a part-time student. I also work part-time, and I attend the seminary program here full-time. Depending on the time of the year, I either work 2 to 3 part-time jobs. So alhamdulillah, I'm kind of all over the place. A regular day for me. So if I can, right, seminary is the priority. I block out my morning and that chunk of the afternoon for seminary. I schedule my classes in the evening if I can, and I work in that short period in between. that's what my days look like. If I can't, right, I think this semester, unfortunately, I blame the gas prices. I had to work. I had to work a whole lot more than what I wanted to, and because of COVID, right, it was very limited classes, and most of those classes were scheduled in the morning. So I was not able to attend seminary in person as much as I wanted to, but there were recordings for me to go back to, right? So it wasn't like a huge problem. But yeah, my day starts at Fajr and it ends sometimes like 10 p.m. if I'm lucky, sometimes 11 p.m. for being realistic, maybe like 1:30 a.m. But that's only because of my current skill level, right? In my first year of seminary, personally, it was a lot for me. Just because, like I said, I grew up in the masjid and I really thought that I had a handle on Islam. And then year one came around and I had to unlearn so many things, it felt like, which was the best blessing now that I look back on it, but it was a lot. So because of that, I wasn't able to put my best effort in, and I had a lot of catching up to do in my year two. But alhamdulillah, I was able to do so. So now, you know, my Arabic is much more stronger than it was. I'm more comfortable picking up a text and reading it. I'm probably like at 80%, right? It's not too shabby. So I put in a lot of like studying. The pandemic really helped with that because my commute time was at 0, right? I no longer had to drive anywhere. But again, that's just personally me, right? Everyone's study is gonna look a little bit different, and I'll let my fellow classmates.
Yeah, so for me, I was jumping out of first year to second year, kind of with a good basic foundation. I was also, I graduated, I'm an alumni from IOK school, so free IOK school promo. If you have any kids, put them in this school. So it really helped with year one because I kind of had the foundation. I was doing Quran in the mornings and then I was doing Arabic classes. But enough with that, we're talking about seminary. So my year two, day to day looked like you wake up for Fajr and there were like, you wake up and then you study because I am a procrastinator. I'm a horrible time management. Like I, am all over the place, like Hajra mentioned. But it was easy because if you make seminary a priority, you're always gonna get it done. And I think that's really how you have to be honest with yourself. If you really want this, you can do it because it's made for students who really want it. And even if you feel like, oh, I'm slipping, I'm falling behind, that's fine. It's normal. I go through that like every 2 months. It's something I always go through. But alhamdulillah, Allah makes it easy when you want it and you're sincere. I was also in full-time college. I was working part-time. The first semester of second year, I was going in person, and I live all the way in Moreno Valley, which is very, very east. So I was making that commute in the morning. But when gas prices were like $6, $5, I was like, oh, Allah understands. So the second semester, I was doing at home. So I had a lot more time on my hands. I chose classes specifically for my university to align with seminary, not, seminary align with my university classes, because it's a lot easier that way. And the good thing about the Western learning is that it's kind of, you can choose your own classes, and even when you can't, it's easy to incorporate seminary in that way. After, I feel, you mentioned how long were you studying after, so for I would study like maybe an hour after, even if it's 30 minutes, depending on what we learned that day. If there's something that I really want to review, 30 minutes, an hour, it's not, I don't want to say it's not time consuming because 4 hours in the morning, that's a lot, okay? But it's not something that takes over your life. It can,
in the best way possible.
Yeah, in the best way. May Allah make us those who ilm takes up our lives. But it was definitely manageable. I would never say that this was something that I couldn't do. Because if I would say that, it was because I'm being lazy. This is a lifelong journey. You're not gonna get it after a year or 2 or 3 years, even 5. Even when you graduate with your master's, you're not done. You're just getting started. this is for you the rest of your life, and don't let that scare you in the best way. So it's manageable if you're in university. I have a classmate in my class. She has 4 kids or 3 kids, and she does it every morning. She's present, even more than me, and I have 0 kids. And you know, so there's like a plethora of students who have different lives, married, not married. So we have students that live in Seattle, and they like get on, and the time difference, and full-time students that are working full-time, you can do it. So, and I have the Quran students, if you memorize the Quran, seminary is kind of it's gonna be so, I don't wanna say so easy, but it'll definitely increase your knowledge and your love for the Quran. Because you're gonna be learning so much about the Quran that you thought that you knew, but you already have the Quran memorized. So it's like, oh, this is where you jump in and you're like, oh, this is the Quran. And when you're reciting the Quran, you're like, this is why this is a Dhamma, this is what Allah says, this is tafsir, and you remember it. So it's a win-win. I'm sorry, I'm like all over the place because I want to tell you guys so many things without being too extra, but this is definitely the best decision I've made. And I've seen both sides, you know. I've seen the dunya side, I've been in public school, I've been around the wrong crowds, I've seen that. But I've also seen seminary, and I was in a private Muslim school, alhamdulillah, and I've seen the Islamic side. So I can attest to the fact that the dunya and shaitan is working. They are working 24/7, 9 to 5 against you. And the dunya doesn't want to see you prevail, and they don't want to see you close to Allah. So if you don't make your Islam a priority, you're going to lose. Unfortunately, that is the sad truth. And it'll trickle down, dunya will trickle down. But alhamdulillah, with seminary in the morning, you're kind of have your shield. I feel like I describe to my friends a lot, seminary is like your shield. Even if you feel like you're not learning anything, just the mention of Allah, just the mention of the Prophet ﷺ, just the Quran, the verses, even if you're just sitting in class and you're listening and you're on your phone and it's just in the background, there's still so many blessings in that. And, you feel that security, So I can't emphasize enough. I'm expecting to see every single one of you, or at least your kids, in seminary, inshallah. Inshallah, may Allah give stuff.
So I kind of forgot what the question was. They did so good. What was the question?
Because you mentioned that you also have a full-time job.
I have a part-time job.
Part-time
Yeah.
job. And so how do you manage your time with the seminary class?
Mhm.
And what was the commitment per day for the first year? Like how much do you do after 4 hours being in class?
Can I ask you, do you have a full-time job?
I do.
Yeah, okay. So I'm going to speak on behalf of myself, and then I hope this is okay. I'm going to speak on behalf of Suhaim, who's in my class, and he has a full-time job as well. So for me personally, in year one, that's my favorite year. I love reflecting on year one. Year one, I only had university. I only had community college in year one. And I would wake up and I would try to get to seminary early. And I know that's like crazy because it's at 7:30 a.m. But we would try to get to seminary early, and we would actually study together. So me and my classmates, we would get there and we would study, and we would be like, what did you do on the homework? Can I see what you did? Like, we could help each other study that way. And so that's what we would do. And then we would have class from 7:30 to 11:30 or 12:30. And then sometimes we would just stay after because that's just how our schedules work. Some people couldn't because they had to go to school or work or something. But for me, alhamdulillah, most of my classes were online due to community college, so that was really easy, alhamdulillah, for me in year one. And year one, I feel like the study time is as much as you make it. I think that's the best way because for me, I was obsessed with seminary in year one. Like it was like my personality, seminary. So I would not do my community college work until like the last second because I just want to do seminary. And it's really what you make of it, to be honest. So I would probably spend like, you're supposed to, we advise that you spend at least an hour doing work. But for me, I would spend like 1 to 3 hours every day doing seminary, just studying, catching up, different things like that. And then I'm going to talk about Suhaim. Suhaim is in my class. He's the one who lives in Seattle. with a full-time job, he is a star student, mashallah.
Oh.
So he actually skipped year 1, so he was like already ahead, you know. So he went straight to year 2, and Suhaim, alhamdulillah, he works for Twitter. So because it's an online job and he works remotely, he's able to have a flexible schedule. So what he does is he attends on Zoom whenever he can, and then he does the homework like whenever, or the assignments or preparing after class time, whenever he has time after work. And then once, because he has a lot of work meetings, so when he has work meeting times, he'll not attend the Zoom, but he'll watch the recordings later. So that's how you would do it with full-time job.
Is it safe to assume that you guys do enough practice? Because language is about practicing the
Yeah.
concept more and more often. So you guys do more practice in a class that kind of fills in a little bit of that extra work that you have to put after the class.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely, 100%. The shuyukh do pick on you. So they'll be like, Maryam, what's the fa'il? And you're just on the spot and you're like, it's this one, you know? Or why is this word mansub? So they keep testing you. It's like you're being pop quiz every time you're in class.
And in year 1 especially, I don't know if she mentioned this, but you're learning so much vocabulary, so many words. And it's tests, I feel like, especially with one of the shuyukh, Sheikh Ahmed Billo. He's always testing you, and he's always gonna, pick on you in a good way, so you have it and you won't forget it. Especially when he calls on you in class, and then you're kind of embarrassed, you don't know, you're never gonna forget it again. I'm telling you, like even now.
You remember from your mistakes.
Yeah, you remember especially. So even if you're putting in less time, if you don't have time to put in after seminary, it's okay because you're getting a lot of time and a lot of practice in class. But you should allot some time for after.
Thank you.
Of course.
Yes.
Just a couple of questions. So I have a full-time job and not a lot of flexibility.
Yeah.
And 3 very little kids.
Mashallah.
So I spoke to Sheikh Farhan briefly about this, but what's the mix? 2 questions. What's the mix of part-time and full-time students that you guys have in the seminary? I don't know if you guys know the answer to that question. That's number 1. Number 2, let's say you start the part-time program and you're doing the classes online. What's the accountability? Like with the language you're saying that you guys talk to each other, that you pick on you, but if you're doing it part-time, and Sheikh Farhan recommended for me to start with the part-time program, but I haven't had the chance to talk to him in person. But where does the accountability come in, and like how do I check myself to know that I'm making the right progress if I'm watching all recorded videos?
So with the part-time recordings, you are quizzed and tested along the way. I know because I also took some part-time courses. So for example, I think the Arabic with Sheikh Farhan, after the first 3 classes or so, you're quizzed or you're tested, right? And it kind of continues along that. So if you're looking for a set of your skills and where that comes in, that's one area that you can get it from. The second is also from the shuyukh themselves, right? Make an appointment with Sheikh Farhan. Tell him, I've been studying this for this long and I just really want to see where I'm at. Is there any way that you could help me with that? And he'd been more than happy to help you with that as well. As far as the ratio between part-time and full-time, I do not have that number. Do you guys have that?
I don't have that number, but I think in my class we have maybe 13 students or 17. I'm not sure, but a couple of those, I want to say maybe 5 are part-time. And we have like a group chat for my year specifically, and we're always keeping each other on track. That's another big thing. Within your class, make peers and make people you can study or make relationships with people who you can study with and you can ask. So there's one of my classmates specifically, I'm like, what's the homework that we have to do again? When is this quiz gonna be? And she's always keeping me like on top of it, especially when I'm lacking in the time management bubble. So that and the tests to gauge where you are and if you're doing things correctly, the shuyukh are always available, especially if you're tutoring, and I know that because I'm getting tutoring from one of the shuyukh, inshallah. So that's always available for you. That's just in my experience, like the tests and with the shuyukh, they can help.
What do you mean specifically by ratio?
As in like of the total number of students in the seminary, what percentage are part-time, what percentage are full-time?
Oh, I feel like there's a lot more part-time students.
Yeah.
There is.
Part-time classes are always filled, mashallah. When I come on Saturday, sometimes I see like the classroom is like filled and there's so many online students as well. And it depends on if you're doing the pre-recorded ones or the live ones. And with accountability, my dad's in a very similar situation as you. He also works full-time. not really flexible, and he has a lot of younger kids, mashallah. So with him, I think it's important for especially, like, you just need a partner, I think is what's going to be best. Because with the part-time courses, I think accountability from the shuyukh is a little more difficult because, again, there's just so many more students, and they don't see you as, like, they see you on a regular basis weekly, but it's not like every single day, if that makes sense.
So if with a part-time seminary program, how long would it take to get the bachelor? So it's 3 years full-time. So is it on my schedule? I could do 4 years, 5 years, or I could do 8 years depending on my work schedule, or
Yes.
how does that work?
Yeah.
Part-time is entirely your own. Yeah. It's kind of like a build your own kit for seminary. Yeah. So if it takes you 8 years to get your bachelor's, then it takes you 8 years to get your bachelor's. If it takes you 4, it takes you 4. Whatever you need, that's what you'll get, inshallah.
And those are on demand as well, right? Because I was looking at the website beforehand. So
Yes. So
I
we
don't
have.
have to physically be here since
Yes.
my work is really
And I
inflexible.
would suggest for your situation to definitely email Chef Farhan and ask him, like, so what's possible for you?
Yeah.
Okay, inshallah.
If you'd like a nice, comprehensive set plan, then they can work on you with that, inshallah.
Yeah.
So that's the other quick question, just going off of that. For the part-time program, like for me, it's like you guys mentioned, it's not like I want to get it done in 5 years. It's more going to be like a lifelong process, right?
Right.
So I don't really worry about like finishing in 5 years or 10 years, like however long it takes. But in terms of the guidance for the classes, so will the SHU provide that in terms of, hey, you should probably take this class first, and then so that is provided.
Yes. Yeah. I would say before you start part-time, speak with Sheikh Farhan. Right? Ask him what's like a good starter kit, essentially, right? This is how much time that I can dedicate to this. This is where I'm at right now at this point in my life. What would you recommend? And he'll give you those recommendations.
Because seminary is very accommodating.
Yes.
It's very, very accommodating. It's malleable. Especially, so I did year 2 twice because I kind of fell off a little bit. So I returned this year, and there were some things that I had to work on, and other things I could kind of like chill about it because I was more onto it. In year 3, I talked with Sheikh Farhan specifically about what are some things that I really, really need to focus on for the summer, and he gave me like, these are the things that you need to focus on, because he's very aware of the students and where they are. So he's always going to be there as a guidance, and they'll tell you like what you need to do specifically, how you need to do it, how much time you need to spend. So it's kind of laid out for you, honestly.
Okay, we'll go here and then here. Yeah.
So there's a IOK summer sphere intensive on July 18th, a week. Could anyone, if you're not at a higher level, anyone jump in and just?
Anyone can join that intensive, and we highly suggest that everyone joins.
Yes.
Yeah, if you kind of want like a small little teaser of
Yeah.
what seminary would be like, I think our summer intensives are a really good example of that.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily what you'll be learning in seminary, right? But just like the time frame that it's from, the pace which it goes, I think that's a really good indicator of the things that you need to get in order before joining this program full time if you're interested. Yes.
First about the intensives, I saw there's 2 different ones going on this summer. What's the difference between the 2?
So the first one, the summer,
There's 2 different ones.
Yeah, it's summer ilm, and then there's just one that's called summer intensive. Do you know the difference?
Oh, was this one of the part-time seminary courses, like when you were, or was this an email?
Like when you open the website, that's the first thing it shows. Like there's 2 summer intensives that they're on.
is the
I
summer
think there's
for us?
one without dinner and one with dinner.
The 2 different packages, that's what it was.
Maybe that's it, but like in terms of curriculum, what they're teaching this summer,
Yeah.
there's only one.
Oh,
Yeah, so it's just that summer
It's the
intensive.
tafsir.
Yeah. We're going over 3 different surahs.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a package with dinner, there's a package without
packages,
dinner.
yeah,
Yes,
same
yes, they're very important to mention.
so you're going over the tafsir of like a couple of surahs.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then I had another question about like, are there any like breaks, like how traditional school, like you have like winter break and
Yes.
stuff like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, we do. So federal holidays we follow. We're off for that. We have a break during the last 10 nights of Ramadan, which is really, really nice.
Yes.
We have winter break. We have a brief summer break, And then you have the option of taking summer school, although it's very strongly encouraged that you do take summer school. And summer is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Thanksgiving break.
Memorial Day.
Yeah, the federal 3-day holidays, we do that.
It's only what I
think
remember.
that's it, yeah.
Yeah, there's breaks.
There's, in short, yes, we have breaks.
And in between classes too.
Oh yeah.
So like officially on the schedule it's gonna be like 7:30 to 9:30 and then 9:30 to 11:30, but there's a break.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even during class, like
Yeah.
we have a lot of shiuch that like to go on like fun tangents. We'll ask questions specifically for that reason. When we need like a little breather, we're like, "Sheikh, what's the difference between this and this?" And then they go on. But usually we get like 10-minute breaks and we get maybe
Yeah.
5-minute breaks. Whenever it's, they kind of ask us, "Do you guys need a break right now?" And usually we're like, "Yeah."
Yeah. Or they'll see it on our faces.
Yeah, for sure.
Sheikh Fakhan is really good at this, going from like one subject to the next, because this year in year 3 we're covering fiqh and hadith with him. So he'll usually start with hadith, and then before we move on to fiqh, he'll give us like a short little break, get up, walk around, do what you need to do, and then come back and get into it.
How long is the summer program?
The summer program?
Yeah, the summer
The
program
intensive?
and the break. Yeah.
No, she's making
No,
so
like the summer school.
Oh.
What is-
so we usually get 1 or 2 weeks between like the end of the academic year and then the beginning of the summer session. And then we have usually it's like June and July is when the summer program is. And then you get like all of August off pretty much, and then September we start again.
Yes.
So does everyone have to do the summer school?
We're,
Super encouraged.
we're strongly encouraged to take
super,
it. Yeah.
If you don't, do you like fall behind? Like, will you still be a second year?
Well,
You'll still be in second year, but it really depends on you. Right?
Again, well, in I think in regards to, so I'm not able to do the summer program, but like I talked to Sheikh Farhan about where I need to like really focus on, because the summer program is very broad and they teach you a lot of things, but some of those things you may not need if you're doing it. So I'm gonna be doing like private tutoring with him for that specific course or that whatever I need. So it's I wouldn't say you fall behind. It's just you're missing out, honestly.
Yeah.
You're gonna have extreme FOMO.
Yeah. No, the summer
Seminary
makes a
photo
difference.
is like
Yeah, especially when it's like, you know, everyone's hanging out during the summer and then they come back. And I'm like, what are you guys talking about? I don't like these inside jokes. So.
Okay. Any other questions, concerns, comments? Yeah.
What is like the testing like in your classes and like the amount of homework that they give?
it's kind of differ based on each teacher and each subject. Yeah, so it's not like university style, if that's what you're gonna expect. Usually it's never, have you ever had multiple choice? I don't think they've ever, like it's never a multiple choice question. I wish it was though, to be
I
honest.
think I remember one test that was multiple choice for like vocabulary.
Yeah, that's basically it. It's like, what is this word? What is the word like qalam? What does that mean? You know, and it's just, I think like that's like the only thing we've gone in. But because they're trying to test you on a skill, they want to see where you're at. Like seminary testing is not to be like, okay, A, B, C, D, E, A, B, C, D, F. It's not about that. It's about, where are you? So we're gonna test you on this sentence. Can you put the vowels on for me, and can you translate it? That's how most of the tests kind of run.
And like when it comes to the English text, right, especially in the beginning when it comes to like usul al-Quran, usul al-Hadith, it's kind of the same thing, fill in the blank. It's like it's like what is a chain of narrators, right? What makes a narrator unreliable or unworthy, right, in those answers.
And for online students, they post it on the Sycamore, so you're able to print it out at home or do it online and then email it to your teacher and then they'll get it back to you within like a good range of time. So that's how that works online.
Yeah. The main thing to think about when it comes to seminary is you're not here for a grade, you're not here for a certificate, you're here to better yourselves as Muslims. Right? It does not matter if you're a straight A student or a straight F student. If you came into the year one way and you came out of the year different, that's all the youth care about.
Even if it's a small change, small changes are the best changes because they're most consistent, I think. Like, for me, in my first year of seminary, I was waking up extra early to make Fajr, and I'm one of those people, I make it up when I wake up, okay? So I think that's one of the better things for me, especially connecting better with my salah and like getting that connection. So just like little things like that.
Any other questions, concerns, comments? Okay. Like I said, if you think of any, we're also here afterwards.
Yes.
We'll end for today. Thank you so much for stopping by. وصلى اللهم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant all of you tawfiq when it comes to your studying, inshallah. Alright, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you. Have a good one. Assalamualaikum.
Like, if you don't know, like, Quran was one,
Yeah,
how do you
Assalamualaikum.
understand the meaning of the Quran or how to properly read it?
So for Quran 101, it's kind of understanding the verses of the Quran, right?
Wait, sorry, do you know what's your question?
Tajweed.
Tajweed. Oh, they don't teach you tajweed. Actually, they teach you a little bit of tajweed, but it's definitely not what you need to recite the Quran.
Yeah.
Not at all.
But is it like easier to, because I don't know how to read Quran with tajweed, that's something I'd like to do, is that like
It's not offered.
Not
No,
offered?
I'm so sorry.
Oh,
But
okay.
there are courses at IOK that you can definitely, like, you can take a, like, if you talk to the admin, you can be like, hey, I want to take Quran 2, and they can give you, like, Quran class.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
for sure.
okay. So there's like different classes for that.
Yeah, yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, so is it every day or is how?
However much you can do.
If you take the classes for the Quran, with the